Is everyone ready if I could start? Okay. I would like to call to order that you can come back here so that our friends at home can see you if they want to. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for the Chagrin Falls Board of Education for October 18th. Very good. Thank you. If I need you guys during the meeting, like if you see me struggling with the audience, you have to like offer to come up and help me out. Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros.
Here.
Mrs. Bendel.
Here.
Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
Dr. Schlepper.
Here.
If you'd all please stand and join me to face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lauren, your middle school? Yeah, you're let's see. I move to approve the minutes for September 6th and September 20th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Does anyone have any changes or comments or edits?
I did have one. Let me hang on. I'm pulling it up. It's very minor. Actually, it's just brought. So I know sometimes people sign in and sometimes they don't. And I remember that Danielle Sabo has been at every meeting. So I think one of them left her off the attendance list. Can we just add that in?
I will look.
And then so you guys know in the audience, there's a sign-in sheet somewhere, right?
Right
To be
there.
signed in. Okay.
Ashley, please take the roll when you're ready.
Mrs. Bros.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, at this point in the meeting, I will turn it over to Lauren to introduce our middle school showcase.
So today we're going to talk about what I think is the coolest spot in the middle school, the Creation Lab. If anyone in this building wants to think back to a project that they did in school that really stuck with them, that had an impact on them. Whatever you're thinking of, I'm guessing it was something where you had some sort of agency and made the decision over what you were studying. I'm guessing you got to be creative with it. And I'm also guessing that you probably got to use your hands. I immediately think of my 4th grade armadillo project where I made a diorama of an armadillo habitat. And I still know an inordinate number of facts about armadillos because of that. It really sticks with you. I think making something is really an impactful way to learn. So I'm going to pass this to Mrs. DeSenza, who can tell us about what our students have been making.
Good evening. At CFMS, we stretch our students to develop their strengths and skills, interests and talents, and have an emerging understanding of their potential contributions to society with their own personal fulfillment. We also utilize instructional and organizational mindsets for students and teachers to be engaged in active, purposeful learning and facilitate environments where students can positively contribute to those around them. Our CFMS Makerspace fosters innovation through hands-on experimentation. Participants have the opportunity to be creative and apply personalized learning strategies to make changes to existing concepts or develop their own ideas, methods, or products. We are guided by the 3 C's. They challenge monthly for students to learn new skills and tools. They allow students to create, think, design, and produce, and then they connect the skills gained from the makerspace into the classroom. We are grateful for our strategic resources because our facilities are flexible to adapt and change in order to meet the dynamic instructional purposes, as well as serve a large number of our students. Today, you will be welcomed into a glimpse of our Makerspace Creation Lab. And our foundation is built upon high-quality learning opportunities where we have academic growth for every student every day. The Creation Lab staff delivers growth opportunities to all students through project-based learning ideas, design thinking, and experiential learning. We can provide opportunities for creativity and harness technology, and they will show you how. I'd like to introduce Mr. Matt Boak and Mr. Dave Kimball. Matt is our 7th grade science teacher and our Creation Lab curriculum guide, and Dave is our Creation Lab implementer of technology. Together, they will introduce the wonderful students they brought with them today and provide you with a showcase from our Innovation Center.
First, thank you for having us to get the opportunity to share some amazing things that these kids have created over the last year or sometime 2 or even. So we'll just share a little bit about the things that we do in the Creation Lab, and then we'll let them have a chance to share their favorite things that they've done in the Creation Lab and some of the skills that they've learned. So we have really 2 goals that we came up with for creating the best possible learning environment in the Creation Lab. And the first one is just increasing and enhancing student engagement and learning. So getting the kids to want to come there and then want to learn the skills that go along with being there. And our first idea was to create monthly lab challenges, and these challenges were to draw interest to the kids. We would tap into things that are going on, like maybe Valentine's Day or coming up now is fall and Halloween. And we would rotate these different challenges with the different machines that are inside the Creation Lab, really emphasizing just building overall skills and usage over time. So you don't have to be an expert today. But let's work on those skills little bits as you come in. And we're always collecting feedback from the kids. What did you like? What machine do you want to learn next? Was that an easy task or a hard task? How can we improve your learning on that? And then this year we started with students earning equipment certifications. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go.
So again, like the monthly challenges that we've had success with, like of the months or suckers, like using like sewing machines, you know, utilizing felt and things like that. They get to create their own little, maybe like an armadillo type thing. They chose to create. Also, we did like a Chagrin type theme, like coasters. Have them come in and sign something that might be a little Chagrin based, or something else, you know, that's special meaning to them as well, or spring break, you know, everyone's excited to go on spring break. Hey, let's sign something, take it with us. That way they have it with them when they go on vacation, wherever it was, or give it to a friend and stuff like that.
So each of those monthly challenges became really popular, and each one was working on a different skill. The first one was think back to like home ec. It's not really a class per se anymore, but we can still tap into those skills in the Creation Lab. But then we go into using a laser etching machine to cut and etch the coasters, and then our heat press and Cricut to make the great bags. So this year we started equipment certification, so giving kids the power to choose. I'm ready to certify on this equipment, and they get their name on a poster that we made that lives above the machine, so they're proud of the certifications that they have earned. And just like any really good lesson, we start with teaching them often one-on-one in the Creation Lab, and then letting them practice on those machines when they're like, hey, Mr. Volk, Mr. Kimball, I have a question for you real quick, come help me. And then they get to the third part where they're like, I think I'm ready to go fly by myself. I'm going to try a project on my own and then show you how I'm kind of mastered the machine and the skills. So that brings up our first student.
So I'm going to tell you, Emily, she's been here for her second year coming through the lab. Even last year, she hit the ground running, came in, she's there almost every day, looking to make something. Really stepping up and doing different things this year with the 3D print, as you can see like her doing, but I will let you have Emily come on up and talk a little bit.
Hi, I'm Emily Allen. My favorite thing about the Creation Lab is putting on music and singing along with my friends as we get to make stickers or some stuffed animals. I am certified at sewing, and I never really had used a sewing machine or hand sewed before I went to the Creation Lab. So that was a really fun skill I got to learn. I love making little stuffed animals and 3D printing. I recently finished the October Halloween challenge at the lab, and when using the 3D printer, it relates to math because you have to measure exactly how big you want something to be, and sometimes you have to do calculations to figure that out. And as you can see, there are a bunch of images of me sewing, of a moon that I made, and the engraver.
Thank you.
Next up is Max. Max is a new seventh grader to the middle school, and Max comes in with this huge beaming smile every day, like, I'm ready to create something new today. So he's super fun to have in there, and I love his eager enthusiasm. So Max, come on up.
My name is Max Beatty, and my favorite thing about the Creation Lab is that I have the freedom to make anything I want while I'm around my friends. I'm certified to use the Cricut, the tool you use to make stickers. And I'm most proud of the baseball sticker I made because I love making stickers to put on my Chromebook and my water bottle. I'm currently working on a friendship bracelet that uses magnets to stick together. This bracelet is for my classmate in English, and I'm planning on making things for my teachers for Christmas. On the left, you can see a picture of the baseball sticker I made just recently sticking on my Chromebook. And the other picture is me and my friend Nate, just posing for an image because we love goofing around and making stuff together.
Hi, and next we have another eighth grader. This is Milo. Milo is such a wonderful person. He's one of our IT kids, so he likes to come in and be very technical with a lot of things, like observe. Also likes helping out other kids that are in the lab as well. But Milo, how about you come on up and go?
I'm Milo Quinton. My favorite things that I can do in the Creation Lab, I like 3D designing and then printing the things that I've designed. I'm certified on the Cricut machine and the Glowforge laser engraver. The thing that I think I do the best and I have the most fun with is 3D designing. And I'm currently working on a couple things.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, next up is Sammy. Sammy's another seventh grader. She walks into the room like a huge bundle of excitement. And like Max, she's super eager to learn the machines. I think every time we put up a new poster for a new certification, she's like, I got that. I'm gonna do that one. So Sammy, come on up and share with us.
Hi, my name is Sammy. I really like making temporary tattoos because they're pretty cool. And then pillows because I like sleeping. The stickers go well, and I really like talking with my friends because talking is also pretty cool. And then I'm certified in the Cricut and the sewing machine. The sewing machine only took me 5 days, but it's okay. I'm really proud of the pillow that I made, which is on screen. So yeah, pretty cool. It's Taylor Swift. And then I'm really working on making some more tattoos because my arms are looking a little blank. And then another pillow, because yeah. And then yeah.
It might be worth investing, mom and dad, in the temporary tattoo maker for at home.
Next up, we have another 8th graders, and I'll say that like Jenna and Emily and Lauren, who's not here tonight, we're gonna see one of her slides. They're really a true group of friends that have been coming in for a long time. And really just, again, we like the kids to have fun. Yeah, we'll let them listen to music. I mean, that's sometimes like how creative stuff comes. Relax, easy, no pressure. Jenna, what's going on?
Hi, I'm Jenna Haddon, I'm in 8th grade. I've been going to the lab for 2 years now. My favorite thing about the Creation Lab is during recess, you can go in there and kind of chill out while kidding you whatever creative things you want to do. I'm certified at sewing, I'm trying to work on being certified. My most proud skill I've been able to do is Tinkercad. It's a 3D design app we use here. It's really fun and I get to use it for different classes or basically anything I do with that. We're working on sewing a slip-in with the October challenge, and I'm thinking printing up other pop characters. That's one of the projects we've been working on for art exploration. Currently, mine is down at the bottom with its little sides, its body and its hair. I'm planning on making it a hat, so it's more practical and it's.
Okay, this student is one of the three amigos that Dave was just talking about. Lauren, I approached her and asked if she wanted to come, but she can't, I have horseback riding. But she went ahead and made a slide herself because she loves the space so much. It's so great that I couldn't just let it go without presenting for her. So she shared that her favorite thing, again, is hanging with her friends in the creation lab. She loves the machines like the Cricut and the laser cutter, the heat press, the 3D printing. She's kind of a jack of all trades in there. She is a student who isn't necessarily worried about the quick product. She will spend weeks or sometimes months on an individual project to make it her best possible project. She said she's very proud of the creation of the minion stuffy that's there on the right. She said she's currently making stuffed turkey. She really likes sewing, sewing machine. She's also in art exploration and she's working on her Funko Pop as well, which is a 3D custom design for them. You can see she drew it at the bottom by hand, and then she's working on it with the digital platform. And she likes making stickers, and also she has a 3D material. So we should give more around the applause in case you want. And then last up is Ethan, and I know that this is really hosted at the middle school, but Ethan spends so much time with us that come on up. He is the product of the middle school life of using the creation lab daily, where he's learned the skills already. So he's coming to us daily to make final projects or work on a project from another class, and most importantly, help the middle school kids. So he is an awesome role model for the middle school kids, and I'll let him present.
My favorite thing about the Creation Lab is the constant new projects and being able to help other students and teachers with anything they need. Some of my certifications are on the 3D printer, which is on the bottom left, resin printer, which is on the bottom right, laser cutter on the top left, and computers. So I started in the Creation Lab in 7th grade. I started fixing computers for the district, and I did that through 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I still do a little bit of that this year. I'm most proud of my handmade creations, such as my geometry project, which is on the top right. And my best skill is from computers. I'm currently working on my geometry project and fixing one of the 3D printers.
Great. Is part of one of our certifications with the laser engraver, which is one of the new laser engravers that we received from a grant from PTO and
Ed Foundation.
Ed Foundation, thank you. So many kids have been working, practicing using the machine, getting help, and certifying. So we have a little gift for you, for each of you, from those kids as they were certifying that each one of our members are going to come up and bring for you guys and keep on your desk, take home, cherish.
Thank you. Oh, so cute. Oh my gosh, thank you. And they're all different. Are they all different? That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Wow.
You got me, Milo.
I'm so impressed
Thank you.
and envious. Thank you very much.
Isla is currently watching her friends on TV and she just said, I made one of those pumpkins. Oh, that one says Isla. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
It's, I think it's an awesome showcase. So, let's do one more round of applause.
I want to recognize the work that's been done just recently. I mean, when the lab first opened and you would walk by, there was definitely a tilt towards one gender of our school community being in there the most. And we had conversations around how are we making sure that all our students are leveraging it. So it definitely seems like you've made progress on that. And then it really sounds to me like you've struck the perfect tone of structure versus the flexibility so that it's a welcoming space the students want to spend time in, but they have some direction because, you know, anyone with a creative idea still needs like some space that they're working towards. So I think it's fantastic that we also have it staffed now, which we didn't have for some period of time. So those seem like really meaningful changes. Do you see other high schoolers coming back very frequently, or is there something we can do to support that happening?
We do. We have had several projects as kids gain projects. They come down to the creation lab to work on those projects, like the most recent geometry project.
Okay.
Reference. It was probably half a dozen kids that have come down to work on it.
Yeah, and there are other places in class that come down.
Okay.
In Huntsville and Sweeney last year, they did a map model, we built like full size customizable, putt. So way out of the floor,
Cool.
and different angles, and we did one putt course. He made big fat ton of Swedes.
That's fun.
Yeah, and stuff like that, physical classes, will come down and help with their rocket stuff.
We were partnering with the business class for a long time, the e-commerce class, helping them create products and understanding what things to buy and whatnot.
Does every middle school student get exposure?
Yes, we're about to tell you about that. I
Okay.
know we're supposed to be at 20 minutes.
It's okay.
Yes,
You can keep going.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I take up your time by asking questions, you keep going.
Okay. So that does bring us to our second goal, which was fostering a deeper connection with classrooms, which in turn is going to grab and a net on all our set of handy creators. We have several. The first thing that we thought of last year, we need to connect with teachers so that they trust us to work with their kids and with their curriculum. So we started off with a t-shirt challenge, like come in and make a t-shirt with us and just get comfortable with the space. And then we did a PD day, which I think was the one that like filled up the fastest. We did a really fun activity with them that we had them pretend they were the students and we ran our whole session as if they were working on a project. You can see you send them within there. And elbow deep into the activity. So what that did was it resulted in a whole bunch of connections. And these that we're going to share with you are all projects that we did last year over the course of the year. There's several more, and they were talking like can't possibly fit all of them. And they're going to be ongoing now. So we're starting planning for some that are coming up at the end of right around the middle of November. We're going to start. It's like the season of projects with each different class.
So one of my favorites is the Viking ship, seventh grade social studies coming through. They're learning not only about the history of the Vikings, but really in the marketing of colors and what they all mean. So we designed this Viking longboat where each of the kids could do the research and find the ruins or figure out what the price are on sale. So we're laser cutting the ship itself. They're painting or putting stickers up shields and different icons, and also printing the sails as well. This one utilizes not only like the laser machine, but we're 3D printing the parts together. We're printing, you know, the actual icon representation, what the markers mean. So we really have to use a lot of these equipment that's available in our space just for this one project. I mean, we have like 60 or 70 of these ships, all built from that class. So this is a lot of fun.
We also connected with math with this Carmello's math group they created last year. And this is mini geometry models. So they were to pick a place they like Topgolf. and do measurements of real potholed and scale them down and then find area and volume of each piece of part. It was a very challenging project to really get some of those original measurements, but it was worthwhile because kids were putting it into like real life. It's not just learning the formulas on paper, it's putting the formulas into action.
Yeah, Spanish Mercado, this is one thing going on ever since I've been here, my 5th year here. But this is like aeronautics class. They come in and they try to make authentic Mexican shop items, and then they have like a sale. But they're, making jewelry, they're keychains, they're making purses, all kinds of different things, even the mask. I don't know what Spider-Man has to work out. But again, yeah, that one utilizes, a lot of different machines, even the filling machine, the embroidery machine, the laser machine. So a lot of it gets used.
This is one of the newest projects that we started this year. Two of our students talked about these projects. They're custom Funko Pop. Funko Pops are like pretty popular collectible dolls. And Mr. Kimball and I spent some time creating a box template for them, as well as a 3D model template, so they're able to use their art class, art skills to develop their own custom designs. So it's not just the white plastic guide that we make for them, but they're putting their own custom twist on it, using all those things they're learning in their art class.
For those still paint, like clays, going on with it, we're gonna print the boxes, so those boxes will have really cool graphics as well. So this is another one of those that I'm really excited to see how this will turn out.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have a machine will cut out everything for them. So it's really cool. We're really excited. I wish we had an example because they're turning out like amazing. They're just aren't any finished products yet. Toy convention is 7th grade science activity is kind of close to me. In this activity, the kids are taking what they're learning about energy and energy transformation, and they're making toys. So they're we talked this year about, let's flip through the like Target magazine that comes and look at the toys that are there and how those are transferring energy. And then make your own design kind of around the idea of energy transformation, like they're transferring its energy from the batteries to the light. The girls there on the top right, I believe
So that was called Mark Baker. So they put a bottle in the baby mouth that goes into the body, where when they fed the baby, it would have a reaction when the baby went. So
It's good practice. It happened.
Continuing.
yeah, again, monumental experience. Last year, I went down with the 8th grade students to Washington DC. But we wanted them to, we were gonna do the full one on the trip. But we wanted them to not only just see the monuments that they're doing, what they represent, but we wanted them to also, when they came back, they want to make their own monuments on something, that they could think of that they thought was maybe needed or something like that. So after the trip, you come back and the kids made their own models of monuments and different things.
So they're thinking of person or an entity that's famous that doesn't have one. So their job was to look at what they saw in Washington DC and bring that back and translate it into a monument representing someone or an event that wasn't represented. E-commerce, if the class comes down with Mr. Bacalar, and we've been working with them for a couple of years before me. And last year we decided let's certify them. This is what kind of got us an idea of certifying all the middle school kids. Because let's have them come down and give them mini lessons on all of these machines to decide how long do these products actually take to make? Can we feasibly make them? How much should we charge for them if they're a quick product versus one time? What material should we buy? So we had lots of different conversations with the e-commerce group just within them learning the machines, which was a really, really fun and just rewarding activity for them.
Is this, so the Spirit wears
The spirit shop stuff, is that being done through?
Similar. So some of the stuff that, the animation center when they're starting to get their own equipment.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
which I'm going-
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
But a lot of the stuff they've already learned, this, yeah.
The skills transfer, that's great.
That, it's like a spin-off show.
That's great. It's fantastic.
And then last, we'd like to invite you guys sometime, during one of our lab creation collabs with, a classroom to come check it out. And we have, all of those will be recycled and reused and, kind of reimagined for this year. So keep a lookout at your email for some invites from us.
Great.
That, hey, come check it out. We're gonna be working for this whole week. Maybe a day or two, you can come in for a period and just check out what the kids are doing and their learning process.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
come watch the things now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. You'll be sure to smile.
So thanks again for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us go a little bit longer, show you all the awesome things for kids. And let's do one more round of that.
There's a lot of confusion around, the board role and what we actually do. And so a presentation like this is so perfect because the board is involved at the like more global level of working with the administration and the staff and setting the vision for the future of the district. And as you know, we just launched the new strategic plan and to see that directional system embedded. I mean, already it was just adopted a few months ago in the work that you're doing and the Connect, Create, Challenge. And then to see the hands-on experience and how it's shaping what our students are learning about and have access to is really incredible. I mean, I just applaud the work of everyone in the district for how quickly things are transforming and moving forward and embracing that strategic vision, which was really a collaborative effort of our students, our staff, our families, our administration. And so it's just very rewarding to see and exciting. And with that, I know that it's dinner hour and you might also have homework. So we'll pause for a couple minutes if you guys, do you want to say something? No. Picture, sorry, yes. If you guys want to come up and take a picture, do you want?
All different.
I think she loves our back.
As a backdrop, perfect. We would stay.
Should we look busy? Camera ready?
I know.
So they're not all the same.
No, I don't think anything is the same. actually.
No, I want to trade. I want Isla's. Trade.
You're gonna have to earn that, Ashley.
Wait, can I see yours? I don't want to see all of them. Yours is completely different.
That's so cute. Thank you.
Really
guys.
cool.
Thank you.
Oh, this one has Jenna's name on it.
Cool.
How many?
As many as will come in. It's like all day, so maybe.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When is it?
We don't have a set date, but it'll be sometime between Thanksgiving and December.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Will you email us about it?
That'd be great.
All right, moving along, we have district advisory reports. Who is presenting for the capital planning committee?
Robert, she needs you.
Rob.
Sorry, I was distracted. Capital planning?
Yeah.
All right. So very busy summer for the district. The committee met on October 10th. Mr. Woofter and Mr. Nace reviewed a lot of projects for us that were completed over the summer. Specifically PI projects to get buildings throughout the district ready for this academic year that we're currently in. They also reviewed a number of upcoming projects for the summer of 24. And some of those projects were included in the FIP, which is the facilities improvement plan. So the first of which this summer was the HVAC. They were in phase 4 of HVAC work throughout the district. It included significant improvements to the 712 campus. There's been a total rehaul of the what's called the Univent system. And it was a very labor intensive and cumbersome process. There's an additional layer surrounding integration along hallways and rooms. So new bulkheads were built around a lot of this. And the team did a really beautiful job. I was able to kind of walk around and take a look at some of the things that they had done. They really made it look seamless, but again, kind of a heavy lift there. The next piece was the Gurney playground. The playground had some significant holes and cracks on its rubber surface. So that's been replaced, as well as a new map of the US was painted on the lot as well. It looks really awesome. And they're able to, Chris Wolfter said that if you want to have lunch in Texas, you can sit down in Texas, which is pretty cool. So that was awesome. Multiple paving projects have been completed, including the North Drive at the 712 campus being seal coated, significant overlay patching, drain remediation. The Gurney campus had top coats on multiple spaces. There was a new turnaround circle put in where the early learning village is now located, just to help with traffic. And then the intermediate school has had their lot seal coated as well. Some roofing projects have taken place this summer, most specifically the high school, in the area over the Performing Arts Center. And then they're looking forward to the art wing roof. It really needs some work. So that's going to be the next area of attention, probably within the next 6 to 10 months. We have a new district phone system. We moved to what's called a Cisco-based phone system, all new handsets. They have what's called a native emergency call routing system. So what it does is it gives law enforcement the ability to localize exactly where a call is coming from within the building in the event of an emergency, rather than just a location generally. This was also a component of our safety plan. So updating the phones district-wide, and some of the grant money for some safety updates went toward that initiative. Overall safety and security focused improvements. So multiple grant funds were awarded for each building to use prior to 2023. So we had to get some things in under the wire here. Upgrades to access control, door hardware, safety alert systems, camera hardware, software, portal, and radio systems. In addition to the grant funds for these pieces as well, the district is committing about $30,000 per building, should we need to supplement those dollars there. Flooring abatement continued. So the district has an effort to have 0 asbestos products in our building within the next 10 to 15 years. So multiple flooring abatement projects took place, removing some of that old asbestos tile and putting in new products. The central office had a reconfiguration this summer. So the central office has been in dire need of additional office space for quite some time. So a reconfiguration was able to kind of accomplish that this summer, taking some areas that were storage or multi-purpose spaces and creating new offices for our team. We've looked at some buses. The plan was to purchase 3 new buses this year, but the costs are astronomical. Last year was about $97,000 per bus. It's about $123,000 this year per bus.
Do they expect that to level? I know in we did work with some of the capital planning committee members this week and the athletics committee members, just showing them some of the larger things that we're talking about moving forward. And one of our community experts too, actually a couple of people in the room said construction costs seem to be going down and leveling out. Do they expect the same to happen with buses, or are we just, yes?
Yeah, that was, I think a lot of it was just where the market is right now. So they're hoping that correction's gonna, happen. So I think the recommendation is to sit tight until the demand moves there. The great news about all these projects was that the estimated cost was about $3.7 million and our final cost was about 3.25. So we saved about $450,000 in those projects. So really awesome. And then of course the big marquee piece this summer was the early learning village. So this was completed in late August. And as demand for our preschool programs increased, and to anybody that's here tonight or listening, if you have not had the chance to check it out, it really is a beautiful facility. My own daughter is there and it really is pretty incredible. The turnaround time was really remarkable as well. So it's on the north side of the Gurney building. There were multiple upgrades from the contractor that would have cost the district about 40 grand. But it ended up being no cost to us because of how generous the contractor was with us. So the overall cost of the early learning village was about 735,000. Our intended budget was about 700,000, so we were pretty close, just about 2-3% of it, which is pretty marginal. And then our conversation centered for the rest of the time on the transportation facility. So the remainder of that time, we really talked about what the recommendation would be, and it was pretty unanimous that all members of the committee recommend that we should move forward with putting it out to bid, just to get an idea of what the costs are going to be. Mr. Wolfter felt confident that with our approval, that it would only take a couple of days to get that process in motion. You were talking about some of the costs to key items like steel has started to stabilize, and we're seeing that the prices are getting closer to pre-COVID pricing.
And there's
So-
no cost to us of putting it out to bid, right?
It's not,
Already approved it.
yeah,
So to be frank, it's already approved. We just put everything at a halt because we felt the bids would be too high.
Right.
So everything has been passed,
Okay.
everything is ready to go. We just need to give the okay.
Okay.
I guess I need to give the okay for them to move forward with the actual bidding process.
Do you recommend that that we're there, or I know we were reevaluating based on strategic plan or hoping to reevaluate based on strategic plan?
The things to take into consideration about the bidding process would be that we have a strong design. We went back and really solidified that. We had the facilities committee and presented a work session, and they went through the details, and it is a refined plan. So going to bid, what it would actually do now, if the pricing is stabilizing, would actually put a cost to design, because there was a lot of question of where we were falling, right? Within what we predicted we needed and what the cost would be. So the advantage to me to going to bid now and believe the costs are stable, getting close to stable, would be that we would know if we're close to what we projected that project costing. The reason that might also be beneficial is because we need to reprioritize the master plan. So within the master plan, within that capital planning, we have projects listed by priority. And the only thing I've been cautioning the committee to think about is, based on our strategic plan, have the priorities changed? Have we done upgrades or considered the educational needs? Have they shifted so that those projects may need to be relooked at or refined? If you had a cost, since the bus garage we know is what is defined in what we need, we'd actually have a current cost. And then we could go and look at things like the art wing, the science wing, maybe some of the spaces at Gurney. We know at Gurney that was kind of presented, if you will, that there's a space need for parking. And what I mean is, we are about 5 to 10 spaces short every day, where people are having to try to find a space, just given the number of staff members that we've put on that campus, let alone volunteers, parents. I'm saying when everybody is on campus in one day. So we're looking at how can we improve that, but you don't want to look at improvements if you're also looking at doing work on that upper corridor, on that transportation center. So what I've asked in the bid, if you will, is to also look at a parking solution. Because we don't want to go to bid on just transportation if we also now have some parking we want to consider. So I want parking as part of the overall picture, that it would be connected to the transportation building, but also be able to pull out if we just wanted to fix our transportation. So there's a little bit of flex there that we need to consider, and have Ryan go back out and do some consideration. And he was with us just, it feels like this week or last week, doing some walkthroughs of other facilities that we might consider when we're going back through that master plan. So there's no harm in going out, except just know it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to build a transportation
center. It means that we're getting grounded in what the current cost would be, and I think that would help us then make an educated decision and put that against some of the other needs we're prioritizing. Those costs are maybe 2018, 2019 with the projected cost. And so it's a little hard to judge where that falls. That was probably a really detailed answer.
No, that's good. It was helpful. Robert,
The short answer is no, it doesn't cost us anything to go out to bid. I know that's what you're looking for.
one thing to put on your radar is in the strategic plan, one of the things that came out of the strategic plan, which I know you know, but is the ability to use educational spaces, the facility, the flexibility of our facilities. And that wasn't even feedback we were hearing when we did that last strategic plan. And I don't know if that means that's how we look at the old priorities and do them a little bit differently, but I suspect it means we gather additional feedback from our staff on are there ideas that they have about changes to the existing buildings that would make it more flexible so that they can pivot and be responsive to changing educational needs the way they want to. And some of it may be big projects that end up on the priority list again, but some of them may be smaller changes that we could, incorporate into summer projects too.
There's a very strong process,
Yes,
which is the positive piece to all of this.
Yes.
We have a process to be able to do that kind of work, make those kinds of evaluations.
definitely.
But I think we're in a good place with, I think, construction in general.
Sorry, apparently I'm the only one in my family that carries a key to the house.
I think the really nice part about looking at it a little bit deeper is, can we marry different projects in the efforts to save on cost? So if we're gonna put in a new parking, or where the bus garage is, that parking, can we, bridge that particular paving project with a new parking infrastructure at Gurney elsewhere to save, 20% on cost.
When we speak about Gurney parking, it's not just to be clear, it's not just about additional spaces, it's about where does the snow go?
Yeah,
And I know that might seem a little off, but where the preschool early learning village went, we lost some spaces. And so that's also why we have to think carefully, because now we put staff in different places, which is actually where the snow goes.
right.
So what's going to happen, and then how there's limited access from, you think about the gravel where people park to cross to get to a sidewalk or crosswalk to get to the school. So we may put some temporary kind of access across, just so that staff has a safe pathway this year, just to make sure that we can get safely across to a sidewalk or something for this year, just given where people are having to park. So there's a lot of conversation in these meetings and a lot of deep thoughts. But that would be one way to look at it when we go to bid. But it's all been passed and settled. We were just waiting for cost. And so.
And we also in the capital planning meeting started to have conversations about the rec. And that facility technically belongs to the school and is in need of some maintenance. And there's kind of a lot of moving parts and, different organizations involved there. So I think we're kind of at the beginning of that, but wanted to make sure it was on everyone's radar because that's going to be a need.
Yeah, Lori and I went as liaisons to the athletics committee. I agree. All of these committees are really doing very important work and having, strong conversations, but there's a lot of moving pieces at one time. So we went on a tour of some of the athletics facilities because there's been a request to, as we reprioritize, to maybe pull out some smaller projects. And it was really, my takeaway was that everyone in the room was surprised and very pleased with the work that is being done that they weren't aware of. And also the conversation around how does the puzzle that we have, the rec, our athletic facilities, the need to make sure that our PI funds are also addressing educational prioritizations, But I heard a lot of opportunity for, wow, if we, tackle some of these things and put it together in a comprehensive plan. There were a lot of people that wanted to be involved in helping the district achieve those goals. And I think the epiphany that Jennifer and I had from that meeting was there was a positive, enthusiastic energy that was happening from bringing people into these conversations for the past couple of years and having them feel equal owners in some of these opportunities. It wasn't, the conversation didn't go to the heavy place of how are we going to ask our community for this money, and does it have to be an additional tax burden? It wasn't about making the ask. There was a much more positive energy of like, we have the opportunity to come together and create something great for our district and for our whole community, and an enthusiasm around creating something instead of asking for something. And that's a very powerful shift that has occurred. So that,
I think it was actually the first meeting where the council started to collide, which is exactly what's supposed to happen with this district advisory councils, where you had the athletic council and members of the capital planning sitting at a table and not knowing that they were working on the same project, plus a piece of a support organization.
yes.
And so it was this triangle of conversation that no one really had realized that these conversations
Right.
had happened at their own separate tables, and now we were all at this round table together.
And of course, the energy was like, this is great. Let's start today. And we were like, okay, everybody, it's the process that we have to follow. So
It was the whole inspiring all part of our direction.
yes, yes, great.
Good. Good work.
Anything else?
No, I was gonna mention Mr. Wolfer and Mr. Nace, their presentation was so comprehensive and just so thorough and nuanced. It really gave me an appreciation for what they do and the systems that we all kind of take for granted, from lighting to doors to locks to phones. I mean, it's just, there's so many. But it's just really impressive, the level of expertise that they're bringing to the table. We're really lucky that we have that team and that they're stewarding this district's resources so well.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm gonna cover intercouncil, and Lauren, you are welcome to chime in, because Lauren was there with me today. She's expressed an interest in participating in the intercouncil and how it's working. So she came with me to this one, and she's gonna go to the December one as well. So our agenda today was about introducing the intercouncil to the theme team and the work that's being done at the theme team. So Jared was there. One of the things, actually, one of the first things that we talked about with intercouncil is the need for a name change, because no one in the room likes the idea that intercouncil sounds very exclusive. And so we have challenged the intercouncil to come up with a name change and to bring it back to the next meeting. And we're also having similar conversations around senior council, because there are people that might want to be involved with that group that aren't really ready to be identified that way. So that was a positive conversation. Okay, let's see. So we talked about the theme team, and mostly we talked about the PD day. And
Theme team, can you define that?
yes, okay. So coming out of the strategic plan and how it's being incorporated from an administrative and staff perspective, there's the district theme of, so we have inspiring all to grow and thrive. Then we have connect, create, challenge. Then staff really likes the annual themes. So this year's annual theme is CF Together, which ties into all of it, but more particularly the connect piece. And so the theme team gets together regularly, usually at the DLT meetings. It has a community representative, Tamara Chess is included in that, has a dozen staff members. It has representatives in each of the buildings, and they are generating ideas as to how to create more connection within the district. So one of the things that's happening is a lot more vertical alignment. They rolled out this month buddy classes. And that's actually more challenging than you would think, because not each of our buildings has time where pods of our cohorts of our students get together on a regular basis, but they're all called different things and they're all at different times in our buildings. So a couple people took a tremendous amount of time and really figured out how to take homerooms and advisories and classrooms at Gurney and pair 1-to-1 so that every cohort in the district now has a buddy cohort. And then the theme team is generating ideas for how they can continue to connect in ways that are not a heavy lift. So one example is Gurney has snack time. And so some of the high school buddy classes with some of the Gurney classes have been making videos for their Gurney class that they can sit and watch during their snack time. One of the ideas that came out of Gurney, which I don't know that they're acting on yet, and hopefully no one's paying attention, but I thought it was super great, was to send snacks to their high school buddy class, because they're like, well, they're making us these videos and we get the snacks. And so a lot of that, but it was interesting. Curtis said at one point that in the work that he did in the DLT meeting with this, that he's seen more vertical integration and sharing of successes and like ideas that they can leverage off of other buildings, and like that he wasn't expecting that to come from this. So explaining all of that to the inner council, we had the same reaction of like, wow, all of this great work is happening, and how do we better continue to communicate that out? So we need everyone's help in continuing to communicate that out, and we talked about some ways to accomplish that as well. Yeah, they spent time talking about one of the things that came out of this connecting at the high school level was the Interact Club worked with the Connect student high school theme team to put on a pep rally. And apparently the feedback was, you know, from several people. Brian McKenna said we haven't actually had many pep rallies in recent years, but we certainly haven't had the energy that they had, and that the students really enjoyed it. I think they felt that one of the things they did successfully was to keep all the parts a little shorter and keep people engaged and moving. But staff had a basketball game with some of the students, and the band had a drum line, and the cheerleaders did some stuff. And so having this conversation in the room with the support organizations, Ashley Owen said, you know, and Jared went through how each month has a different theme. Connect to honor, connect to grow.
Together we play, together we
right.
reflect.
Thank
together
you.
we, yeah.
And I don't have them all
I
memorized.
don't
You?
either.
Okay.
Play was March. For some reason that stuck in my head. We all played
Okay.
in March.
So Ashley Owen from the Ed Foundation said, would it be possible for our support organizations to pair up and sponsor a month and do something with you? And is there funding that would help that we could generate? And you know, Jared eyes lit up and was like, funding, that sounds like great. But she clearly has some idea that would be really fun to see. And I know that as a district, we want to take this and use it as an opportunity to connect more with the community too. That's one of the things Tamara's working with Jared on, is how do we do more of that? So some of that was discussed today. And I'm trying to think. I think maybe that was it really on the theme team. And then we moved on to the sharing out from each of the organizations. And you guys might want to have a pen and paper ready, because there are some great dates coming up of things you might want to be involved in. On Monday from 5 to 7 at the Chagrin Falls Intermediate School cafeteria, the PTO is hosting the first Community Connections Fair. It is filling the need that our welcome back breakfast used to serve at the that the PTO put on for new families, but it's broadening it to be more beneficial for all families in the district. So they are going to have it set up that there will be 2 15-minute breakout sessions. Mike Doherty is going to do a 15-minute session on understanding all things about Chagrin technology, which I know as a parent coming into this district, even tonight, working on Google, would be incredibly helpful. But, you know, it's not just new parents that are like, where do I find that when I'm in a hurry? And so that'll be very useful. And Jen Banco is coming to talk about the services that are provided in each of the different buildings because they're different in every building. So we need to help parents understand this is an incredibly valuable opportunity and hopefully get them to attend. And any of the board members, they invited all of the board members to attend as well to support it.
And it's from 5 to 7, but the presentations are 15 minutes long.
Yes.
So it's like,
So you
quick
can
in and
come,
you don't
it's
need
like an
to
open
invest a
house.
lot of
You can
time.
come and duck in and duck out. The Ed Foundation is continuing to sell their boo baskets and they're wrapping that up on Friday. And so if anyone wants to buy a boo basket, that's on their website. They're hosting the Kids Day Out on Election Day, since that's a day off, November 7th, in the high school gym from 11 to 1:30. That is for children from preschool to 4th grade. There'll be games and crafts, and it's $20 a child. They hosted, as we all know, the candidates night, and they felt very good about that. They're encouraging people to share the video so that as much of our community can be as informed as possible when they vote, specifically since there are 2 board seats on the ballot this year.
Is it on their website yet? I noticed it wasn't on the Ed Foundation site.
Then it was.
She said it was.
Is it there now?
It's on their
Facebook
It's on their
page.
Facebook page.
Yeah, but some people don't have Facebook. Anyway,
public.
let Ashley know that it might be good if it was on their site as well.
It's on YouTube too, but I'll talk to her and, video, YouTube, share, watch it and share it. Okay, I think that's it for the Ed Foundation. Actually, no, Jennifer was invited to participate in a Zoom call with the Ed Foundation because they're interested in a more thorough understanding of the strategic plan. And I think that'll be really beneficial because they do so much to support the district and.
And the table was delivered today,
Oh, it was.
not unpacked. just
So do we
delivered.
have, Lisa, have you had a chance to play with it yet? A little bit? I would imagine that would be a very exciting thing to have in the classroom. Is this Ed Foundation? Yes, the Ed Foundation, the student board has worked out the ability to sell Dairy Island gift cards prior to the holiday season. So for stocking stuffers, which will then you'll be able to use them obviously when they reopen in the spring. But they're very excited because that's kind of a new fundraiser that we haven't had in a while. And again, on the connecting and afterwards, the support organizations were talking about supporting each other more and how they could combine their efforts. So Ed Foundation does the pancake breakfast, and Craig was saying, you know, maybe there's an opportunity, since it's hard to get parents out to things, that, you know, you set up your community connection piece at the same time next year, and it was very rewarding to see those kind of conversations happening. I think sometimes in the past, the organizations have felt a little more like they're trying to each carve out their own niches and, you know, put up barriers from each of the support organizations. They seem to be at a space now where they're all comfortable with their missions and the role they're playing in the district, and to be having conversations around how they can support each other was very meaningful. Safe Routes gave an update. They did the walk to school, walk to town, which was very successful. It was a beautiful day, and they had around 300 intermediate school students participate. And the middle school tried out a new format that they feel worked very well, where they incorporated it into advisory. The 7th grade went separately from the 8th grade. One went in the morning, one went in the afternoon, and they continued to do the scavenger hunt which the Historical Society helps support. And my Officer Baldwin was involved and the crossing guards were there. And then they also said that there's a Merchants Day coming up for Halloween on the 22nd, and the crossing guards will be involved in supporting that. Our next meeting is on November 15th, and Jared and Jen Banco are going to come and talk about the Spirit Store, and we're going to have a tour of the Spirit Store because its grand opening is sometime in the next month. And then in December 13th, Ashley and Mike are going to discuss fundraising, fiscal regulations around donations, grant requests, and the new software that we implemented, and receiving feedback because they started to share some feedback that they were still doing some offline communication, and Mike felt that there was a way that we could use the software to get more of that to support them. Ashley's been having some great conversations with the support organizations about, they all do things differently, but having them really understand what the relationship is with the district, especially the financial piece and their tax filings and how that dovetails with the district responsibilities. So she's going to speak to all of that and increase their learning curve a little bit at the December meeting, which is a needed conversation, but also today we talked about they can also always meet with you one-on-one, or we can set up a group meeting. All right, and Lauren, is there anything you want to add to that? Okay. So at this point in the meeting, I will turn it over to Jennifer for the superintendent report.
I just have something that I just want to put on your radar for next month. Next month, I'll bring a resolution, hopefully to finalize our eclipse planning, which means a change to the calendar possibly, which I know makes you, don't make you happy because all the work to be done prior to talking about it. But what we need to think about is that on April 8th, between 2 and 5, we're in the path of a very good viewing of where the eclipse should happen and we should be able to view. And so for the last couple of months, actually since school started, the team, being the cabinet, has been working and researching on what the best plan for Chagrin would be that day. And so we now have put together an idea of what we think the best plan for the district would be. And we are now consulting both unions, certified and classified, to get input. So basically we took the plan to the principals and we want their feedback so that we can refine everything to make it the strongest that it could be. And then we bring it to the board and just ask that you would approve or give your, I don't know, consent that the decision that we make, you would approve or endorse, I guess, for us on the 8th. So some of the things, just to give you some background of how we came to this plan, would be that we collaborated with the surrounding districts. There's been a lot of conversations that are in the path. There are many different approaches, especially depending where you fall in that span, on what you can do and how you want to address it, because 2 and 5 is right in that window of what this happens. And also when you're in that path, it's a matter of, depending what kind of day it is, we'll have a lot of visitors to the area because they'll want to be in that prime viewing zone. And so we're expecting in this area in Ohio to have many people come. So one of the considerations that we've been talking through is safety. Given the time frame, we have things to consider like student drivers, bus drivers, walkers, staff, just being able to exit the facilities and the unknown number of people that they would have to be able to navigate or get through to get people home and to get home safely. We also have to consider the safety of the people when they're out during that time, which would be if you're driving, if you would look up, or if you didn't have the proper glasses. And then you go into this whole conversation about what are the proper glasses, how do you know if they're the proper glasses, and if schools purchase the proper glasses, how would we be affirmed that we would be covered if someone had the glasses, and if they, so there are all these conversations around glasses in general. So there are ones that are endorsed, and those would be the ones that we would want people to consider and to have. If you, when you do plan to view the eclipse on the 8th, I know Ashley told me she already ordered hers, so.
I did. I already received them.
I have mine too, Ashley.
Because the last eclipse, I didn't get to see it because the glasses were all sold out. So-
Last time they sold out fast.
So I already have mine.
Who are they endorsed by?
There's a certain code on them and you have to make sure you get the right code because then you know they actually are legitimate and they block. I have a whole drawer full of for the right price.
I just went to
Consider selling one.
NASA's website and they tell you which like manufacturers you can like are the
Okay.
good ones.
That's the complication.
So yeah.
And then, so the next thing that the team went through too was early release, versus full day. Students off versus staff off. We went through what's the value, for more professional development or work time for staff? How do we account for the hours? What does that look like? Taking into account working parents, making sure that there's plenty of time to plan. We went through this strategic plan to talk about how that would engage and how we would use that as a decision. And again, I said consulting all stakeholder groups of the unions and administrative team, and then again, consulting here to make sure that you're aware, can get feedback, and also chime in as we finalize where we're landing right now, just to say where the team is and what I'll be talking to. And what I've been talking about so far is to look at a release day for students, so students would not attend. Ed Foundation and some other groups have talked about offering some kind of community packs or some kind of science education around the eclipse that could be done. But just, we wouldn't actually have scheduled regular school day that day. You just think that the early release is too complicated and too challenging. And that we would do a teacher and all staff would report here to do some type of professional development for the first half of the day. But if we're worried about the release, we're worried about the safety concerns for the second half, which would be the like we said, that window's 2 to 5, what we're being told. Would need to do a half-day release for them to be able to go home and to do, we have an online, it's called Public School Works, where they do the required, like legal requirements for safety videos and things like that, so that they could do those and have time to do those. Those are things we have trouble getting them time to be able to do, but they could complete those and we could document the hours for the day that way. We'd be compliant and so we could have them do that. If they're a second shift worker, they would do the shift opposite. So they could start at home and do their public school works requirements, and then they could come to work after. And then be able to finish the day here on campus. But again, we're just starting to go out and to talk about this and to see what other feedback we get. So we welcome feedback if there are things that you think about or have conversations about and want to get back to me. But my goal is that we would bring a resolution then on, I think it's the 15th of November, to that board meeting. We can talk about it in the work session maybe as well in November.
Is someone looking into, because so our athletics conference is bigger than, I mean, it's supposed to just be Northeast Ohio, but it's grown. So is someone coordinating?
Harley.
Okay, good.
And it's great that you say that. So we went to the administrative team and introduced this yesterday. Was it yesterday? That was the first thing Tom says, and sports and practices and how we're handling that.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a great question. I want you to do some research and to talk, because these are conversations that are happening.
Yeah.
I know that some districts are changing start and stop times of practices to avoid that window. And games are avoiding that window, and the window you're gonna have to extend a little on both sides because people are gonna have to leave, right? And it's exiting after the eclipse as well that people are worried about. And and just the jam in general. If you had any part of the one that happened several years ago in August, and you know, Michael drove. To go to that one, and the amount of time it just took him to get out of the chaos.
Right.
So there's just a lot to predict, and you know, there's always a chance it's gonna be so cloudy and that we won't be able to see. But we have to do our best for our kids and our staff and our community and make the best call that we can. But I also want to make sure that we're being educationally true to our work and to our strategic plan as well.
Yeah, so the other thing I would caution is, I mean, I already heard one person in the conversation I was in with you, one community member say, you know, wow, the football field would be a great place to watch it. So I think we need to understand how our district facilities, like what that's gonna look like, and we probably need conversations with South Russell and Chagrin Falls Village PD, because if one person's already had that idea, clearly.
You're talking
others
about
will.
selling out the stadium, because some schools have done that. We're not, that is not in our plan. That's not been
No, I'm
discussed.
talking just about making sure that we have, like, if
Oh,
it's
right.
chaotic and there's, you know, making sure that we have police support for traffic or whatever. I don't, you know, the liability, is there a liability for us if someone comes and sits on the field and chooses to look at it without their glasses? Is that like? It feels a little bit like Y2K. Some of you weren't even born then, but.
We take that approach with this. I just want you to know that we are working with other districts. This is a common conversation across the state, especially in this area. And we have been intentional in our collaboration and consideration, and that's why we've not announced anything, and we want to be thorough in our decision and be fair to all the stakeholders.
Great.
So this is our process, and we'll get back to you hopefully next month. But that's really all I have for the solar eclipse planning.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any? No. Okay, I move to approve consent agenda items 5.02 through 5.11. Can I have a second?
Real quick, just to be clear, we didn't skip public participation. Nobody signed up for it.
Sorry.
So
Okay.
just want everybody to think we just completely skipped it. I didn't have anyone sign up. So go ahead.
I move to approve consent agenda items 5.02 through 5.11. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Jennifer, can you give us a little background on softball?
Yes, so the softball in general, and I know this has been on several, I think, agendas, this isn't the first one, but basically there were some concerns and we've been addressing them with the field at Gurney for our girls varsity. But the other concern is that we really want to have our varsity sports on this campus. So we really were working hard to get all of our varsity sports here, which meant varsity softball, we really wanted here on this campus. So we have the JV varsity baseball field. And so discussions started probably early last spring, maybe March, I'd say March, about Mr. Barch brought forward, how could we get the softball varsity team up here? And so we were looking at how could we modify that JV field to be able to do that. And so over the course of the next couple of months, we brought in, and you approved these resolutions along the way to make that happen. And so we were at a point that we put things out to bid in hopes that we could get everything done before the season started this year. The problem is people are just really backed up, and we had no success at getting bids to get things done that fast. People were just really booked. And so we readjusted and went back, or we're going back out to bid so that we could actually do it. And I forget the exact month, but this would postpone it so that it would be ready for next, like a year from now, for that season, which I'd rather have it done right. And to make sure that it's bid correctly. And Chris has been in close contact with the families and with softball, so that they know how the field will be prepared and what's going on with the bidding process and the actual construction that needs to happen, the adjustments to that field. What would then happen would be when that field is made to be a softball field, then Gurney softball field would become the JV softball field. And we would also do the refinements needed to make a JV baseball field work. And the reason I'm saying make a JV baseball field work is because we have options. And so all of those options right now are being vetted. And so for example, one option that athletic committee, their committees are working through would be things like looking at possibly turfing part of that and the baseball field so that it could take multiple games, right? So the way that our field is right now, it really couldn't handle 2 teams playing or the amount of teams that would play on that field in a given week, if you will. So by turfing it, it really helps the field and preserves the field and would fix some of the other issues that they maintain on a regular basis with just the varsity team playing there, because we want the best quality fields for both baseball and softball. So we're looking at some of those options. And then the next question is, well, why aren't you turfing softball if if you're looking into turfing baseball? And the truth is we did, but there's really no college softball that really likes to play on turf that we were really finding. Charlie's doing all of that research. It has something to do with the way the glove and the ball bounce, and I'm not a softball player.
No, but one of the parents in our committee has a softball player and their immediate reaction was like, oh no, that's actually not good.
Yeah, it's not good for what the team is. So I just wanted to put it out there. All those conversations are going on and happening, and can a varsity JV field fit at Gurney? And again, you're getting into a whole construction conversation about where's the transportation going and where's the parking going, and those are soccer fields, and how does that get into soccer fields, and is that the best decision? And so all of those conversations are happening. So but that's how the softball field is working out. And I do think it's best for Chagrin to have varsity sports on this campus. I mean, this is the varsity campus. So in the long term, we're doing the right thing. It just may have been delayed a year for us, but again, we couldn't control the bids, and there's a lot of research to try to, with companies, to try to get the bids to get it done this year. We just couldn't make it happen.
Okay, thank you.
Did these 2 contracts end up getting bid out, or are they below a threshold? The ones that we're approving?
Tonight,
Yeah, 10 and 11, 510 and 511.
well, the one is for the baseball field improvements, and the one is for the Gurney softball field improvements. So those are below, because those are what they need to do to get those fields ready, based on the fact that the softball field can't be done this year.
Right. My question was, at what threshold do we require a bidding process for a construction project?
50,000. 50,000.
50,000.
50, I thought it was 50.
I feel like I'm so.
I can't hear you.
I know. I feel like this is louder
Okay.
than it usually is. I think Larry
I thought
turned
it
me
was
up
50. I just
he's on
wanted
to
to
me.
confirm. So those 2 weren't bid out.
They didn't need to be. I don't believe they were.
Okay.
They were just to do the repairs necessary for this year.
The
That's
other
why
thing, just to put on your radar, Jennifer, and actually I think maybe for some of the board members, the rec did a fundraiser years ago to help pay for the lights on the back baseball field, just so you're aware of that they were funded in part by donation from the rec center. I don't know if we can preserve them. We probably have to replace everything, but it's just good to know that a support organization helped pay for those. Well, I guess they're a support, whatever the rec is considered a community organization.
Any other questions?
Way more discussion than we normally have on consent, but thank you for that information.
Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
I move to approve superintendent's recommendation 6.02 through 6.13. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Jennifer, would you like to walk us through these?
Sure, and I don't think there are many new categories on here that we haven't seen before. So I'll try to go quickly through them. The first would just be for different activities or contracts that our teachers are certified personnel hold. And these are supplementals that are being in our contract. This 6.03 would then be classified personnel contracts as listed. The additional hours in 6.04 are usually for some type of training. You do know that we passed an MOU for chaperoning because we do have some teachers that need to serve students for things like the homecoming dance, and so we needed to cover that cost, and that is now coming through as additional hours for certified personnel. Next month, you'll see the one come through hopefully for OC class of members because they will need the same kind of support. In 6.05, you have the classified personnel additional hours. On the last two of that one, remember that back in August, I know it was a while ago, we had talked about creating a mentoring program for OC because there was no kind of system for new hires who have support. So if they needed help with something or like a new program, how to enter their attendance and those kinds of things. They didn't have anyone specifically to go to in their buildings or their area to be able to ask for help. We also know that our new hires didn't really have a bank of time to get additional training that they might need. And so we've been working to finalize that and actually just had everything kind of tightened up, but some of that did start back in August, and that's why the date goes back to August. But this is the approved list between the OC and the district for those positions. 6.06 would be performing arts contracts. 1607 resignation for the purpose of retirement. And then 608 is a building aid. I think that was in the middle school, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And then the 1609 might look a little strange. What happened was middle school speech and debate. Courtney actually held the whole position. That's how we paid her and accepted her. But she really wants to transition that position, and we had another teacher that wants to eventually take that over. So there was an agreement worked where we're hiring one, in back a few item numbers where that person will take half, Courtney will take half. So Courtney just has to resign half of her position so that she can work with and train someone to handle middle school debate. That's what that one looks like. There's salary reclassification that just has to do with professional development, such as educational coursework that results in classification. And then 611 would be your credential evaluators. That's for your teacher and principal evaluations. Community ed, we approved the different programs and classes and clubs that occur. Under 6.12, and then 6.13. I know you can't click on the blue if you have a physical paper agenda, but there's an attached athletic supplemental, and we always update those as the seasons happen. So that would be 6.13, and that should run us through the entire list of my recommendations.
Jennifer, the athletic supplementals must be based on more than just longevity, because I see variance even within longevity. What else is incorporated in, you know?
I know that Charlie does, he does applications and we would go with, it's the most qualified person, but that our staff has the highest priority based on the contract for the different positions. So if it's a head position, Charlie would have the team. I mean, he has a way that he would make those recommendations.
I see.
If it's a like an assistant coach or let's say even a JV, the head coach is the person with Charlie that would make those recommendations because that's part of that coach's team or the coaches.
Is it tied to their salary with the district though?
Are you talking this compensation?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're determined, they're based on the the contract that's approved with the association. The last go around, this newer contract, there was a lot of work put into by a lot of people who were not me into determining the amounts. So when we determine an amount on the supplementals, it's based on a percentage of the salary. So a teacher with a higher salary, even doing the same work, even if it's the same percentage in the same level, like if it's a 0.2, that higher salary teacher is going to make more doing the same amount of work because it's based on their salary. But then each sport also has a different level. There's like a 0.01 and a 0.02 and a 0.0, whatever, based on the amount of time that sport or activity takes. Sorry.
Charlie and the athletic committee were the ones that did the research and built the.
Yeah, we had some, I don't know if you recall, we used to, there were several that were not filled anymore. And then there were some that every year, because the numbers were so large, we had to approve additional positions every single year. And so it was determined that maybe it made more sense to make the contract reflective of what's actually happening now. Because, popularity of sports goes up and down. So
No, there's been a lot of positive updating of how we're doing this. It doesn't seem, it's not my place. It makes sense to me that the decision be made that there's going to be a factor that's different for sports because different sports last for different periods of time. Some have more off-season work, but it does seem a little odd to me that it's then also tied to their earning with the district as what they do in their full-time job, because I don't know that I actually follow how that makes that big of a difference, but if that's how other districts are operating too, then I suppose that's
very common. Yeah.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Anything else? Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Rose.
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
I move to approve treasurer's recommendations 7.02 and 7.03. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley, would you like to walk us through these?
Absolutely. All right. So item 7.02 is the monthly financial reports. So I changed the title on the slides just because I found myself the last couple of months saying the reports you're actually approving versus what I'm presenting. So what I'm presenting is the highlights from the reports. So I just want to be clear. A lot of what is in my slides is taken directly. It's just a screenshot of the actual report, but there's a lot of detail in those reports too that don't really lend themselves to a slideshow. So I've pulled that out. Maybe, oh, there we go. I was doing the wrong direction. Okay. So the first item is the general fund summary report. I've highlighted at the bottom there for you the year-to-date amount. This is just showing, this is the highest level that we've got. This is general fund only. You'll see that the balance, if you're comparing to last month, went up significantly. And that's because we did receive $7 million in revenue in August, which is common if you're comparing to previous years. It's because we received our first tax advances during the month of August. So that's why you'll see that balance go up. General fund revenue, this is the month-to-month comparison. So all those different shades of gray there are prior years. Orange is this year. And then I tried to highlight there where we're at for this year. So pretty close. If you're comparing the year to date here, it looks like our year-to-date revenue is really up from last year. It's not necessarily true because if you go back and look at July over there, that very first set of columns there, you can see that this year was high. That's because we returned $1.7 million in advances from those federal funds, which was due to all of the ESSER expenditures. We returned all of that to the general fund. So in the general fund, it looks like additional revenue. It's not necessarily, it's not really revenue. So that's kind of a little bit misleading if this is all you're looking at is just these couple graphs here. So our revenue is about where we expected it to be right now. Moving on to expenditures, this is the month to month. You can see expenditures are up a little bit. Again, we expect that. We expect expenditures to go up every year as salaries increase. Prices are, I'm sure everybody knows right now, prices for pretty much everything that we are purchasing are just way up right now. So not a whole lot we can do about that. Same idea on the expenditures. This is the year to date. So this is where we are at in August compared to where we were at in August of the previous 5 years. This is the comparison of the general fund cash balance. So you can see we're very consistent in going up through July, through August, September. That's when we get our taxes, and then we stall out for a little while. We're not really collecting a whole lot of cash. We're spending down, and then we start getting our taxes again in the spring. So it's just very consistent, pretty much where we would expect to be. Self-insurance fund continues to go up. It's leveled off a little bit. I stopped presenting from the very beginning of the from the inception of the self-insurance fund, so that steep increase that occurred during the first year is no longer on the graph. So it's leveled out a little bit, but it is still climbing, which is very good. And the only other item I'm presenting tonight after the financial reports is the renewal on our employee insurances. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Next item is the financial summary. This is all fund. So up through now, when we're talking revenue and expenditure, we're always pretty much focusing on the general fund. We do have all of these other funds here, things that are legally required to be kept separate from our general fund. So this just lists everything. The bold column there is the ending cash balance of all of those. You'll notice at the bottom there, all those 500s. I know I say this every month, but for anybody who's new to this, all those negative amounts on those federal grant funds, those are to be expected because we do have to spend the money before we get the money. So we spend and then we submit for reimbursement to the federal government, and then they reimburse us. This is the bank reconciliation. Nothing out of the ordinary or exciting there, but I like to have it on there in case anybody is trying to tie numbers from one report to the other, or from all of those cash balances on that previous report. You would see that those totals equal what's actually what we're reconciling to. So the deposit investment report, this is just showing where our money is, the various accounts that we're holding. It looks like this one's a little bit misleading if you're comparing from last month to this month. It looks like our investment account went down if you're only looking at the pie chart, because the percentage went down because the money that we brought in taxes is in Star, Ohio. So that made that piece of the pie bigger, and then obviously makes the other pieces smaller. And for this month's financial spotlight, I wanted to pull a couple things out of the report cards still. I know that's kind of still at the front of some people's minds. And if you're going into those report cards and you're trying to look up data and trying to find information and maybe some comparisons, this is one of the comparisons that they put on each district's page. Theirs isn't as colorful as mine. I try to always have all of my graphs. I always have to have orange. But this is one of the things that they present. So they break down our sources of revenue into state money, federal money, local, and then there's just the small category of other. So if you compare us to statewide, so the statewide graph there on the right that's not an average, that's the statewide total. So they took the total of all the school districts, public school districts in Ohio, totaled those up, came up with those percentages, and then obviously the one on the left is our percentages. You can see the comparison of the amount the percentage that we bring in from the state and federal government is much less than what the statewide percentage is. So I just like everybody to keep that in mind when we start talking revenue and I start talking about tax revenue and things like that. Our reliance on our taxes is heavier than many districts just because we don't get the state revenue that a lot of other districts do.
What is in the other?
It's probably, honestly, I would have to do a little bit of research to kind of look at what lines they're pulling in there. I think it's so when you're looking at my, the second report. So if you're looking at the actual reports, the second report that is, there's always the summary of the general fund. You'll see the revenue broken up into two categories. So the first category on the revenue is all of our normal revenue. And then there's what we call other sources. And so it's things like reimbursement of prior year expenditures. And then there are some things that like miscellaneous items that just it's required to go in there. But I think it's that second group of revenue items, other sources, if I had to guess.
And within local, that's residential and commercial real estate tax, right?
Yes. So, and if I were to break that down, which maybe I could do that for another financial
Yeah,
spotlight.
curious.
I have a little list going of all of my ideas because I kind of got myself into this where I have to do this every month now. I'm like, I'm going to run out of ideas. But if I were to break that down and compare us to other districts, that would be pretty eye-opening as well. Because our tax base is mostly residential. We don't have, big shopping centers and big box stores and things like that to bring a lot of money in like a lot of other districts. So our reliance as a district is very heavily on our local revenue, which is our taxes. And then our tax reliance is also more concentrated on our residents than other districts.
Which
So
is interesting because we found when we looked at strategic planning that the districts that we compared to in certain ways and that we might want to be looking to for ideas or for collaboration were similarly situated with the reliance specifically on residential real estate. There aren't that many districts in the state that are as dependent on that as we are. So
right.
It drives a lot of things.
Yeah.
When you,
Absolutely.
in the event that you do that spotlight and I'm no longer sitting at this table, it would be a good one to share with representatives from all of our other councils in the school district, particularly Chagrin Falls and South Russell.
Mhm.
We obviously are never going to have the same sort of commercial
Right.
tax base that our community like Solon has.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's maybe fallen off the radar that economic development for Chagrin Falls, businesses that might have a large revenue stream, but still use office space.
Yeah.
Are worth trying to attract to our community and the benefit that it has
Mhm.
on the schools and the ability to relieve the tax burden on
Mhm.
our residents.
Absolutely.
It's a good conversation to. I have it all the time. It would be better coming from the treasurer.
Absolutely. And then the bottom here, if you're really interested and you want to do some of this work and make your own graphs, there's the link to the data. So I put this on 2 slides, but in the reports, it's on 1. That's why I ended up with 2 here. On the state report cards, there is also comparison to the statewide totals for expenditures. And so there, they only break it down into 2 categories, classroom instruction and non-classroom instruction. We're closer to statewide totals there, but we are still, I don't want to say better, but yeah, we are.
no,
We're better.
Definitely.
Our numbers are better than the statewide as well. So we are putting more of our total spend into the classroom than the statewide overall. So I think that's just a
So they should give us more money because we spend it better.
you said it.
Actually, before you go forward, so that last slide, if somebody were to want to know if we're overpaying our administrators or if we have too many, you hear this sometimes like, oh, there's too many people
Yeah.
in central office. This would be a good slide to look at.
This is a good indication. I have a better one planned for a future financial spotlight that if I know several people are familiar with the CUP report. So the CUP report comes out every year and it has all kinds of data that compares all 600 and however many districts there are now. And one of the things that they have is the number of administrators, the ratio of administrators to students. They also have average administrator salary. They have all that kind of data. When it comes out every year, we kind of, I like to dig into it a little bit because I like to be knowledgeable about it when we're talking about our finances, about where we really do stand in relation to other districts. Because of course, I think we do everything great, but I want confirmation of that. So I dig into it every year. I've never really presented much of it except when, when asked about our comparisons. But now that I'm trying to kind of throw some other stuff out there other than just the same stuff every month, I do plan, that is on my little spreadsheet of ideas to kind of show that.
So you could give us more detail,
Yes.
but if somebody wanted a high level, it would
Oh,
probably
absolutely.
show up here
Mhm.
because our percentage going to the classroom would be less than the state, for example, if we were top heavy, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. So I will move on then to 7.03, which is the employee insurance renewal. I have all of the percentages there. We have a very favorable renewal for probably the third, fourth year in a row, which is great news. The first line there on this little chart here that I put in here for you is the medical prescription plan contributions. So this is the amount that we put into the self-insurance fund. We are increasing that by 1%. Doesn't sound that exciting, but let me tell you that there are districts who are seeing 10, 11, 12% increases. So that's not only great for us, but it's great for our employees as well, because that's only a 1% increase to them. So the overall amount that we are putting into the self-insurance fund, we are only increasing by 1%. That's on for us and for our staff members. So that's really great news.
Actually, I had a quick question.
Yes.
The self-insurance fund balance. When we met with Cindy last week, she kind of mentioned that there was a sweet spot where you don't want to get too low, but if you have too much money in that it's
just kind of sitting there.
unnecessary. Can you kind of break that just briefly what that looks like?
Yeah, so there's an amount that we are required by law to have. So at the end of every year, I have to send what our balance is to an actuary. They will then take claims expectance numbers. I don't know even know how they calculate it, but that's what actuaries are for. And then they'll determine, here's the amount that we have decided you have to have in there by law. So we have to have that amount. My opinion and the opinions that I've been given from various consultants that I've worked with is that amount is like very, very, very minimum. If you only maintain that amount and then claims came in high, the district would be responsible for those. So if we spent all of our self-insurance fund down and it went down to zero, those claims would be paid for out of the general fund. I mean, we're obligated. So it's smart to have some money sitting in there over and above that. So our consultants will then take the amount that they think we should have. That's based on the actuarial amount plus they do a calculation on the expected claims for the year. So they'll take and say, this is the amount of claims we expect you to have. It's based on history, it's based on the number of lives, it's based on industry-wide trends. And it's also based on what's kind of in the pipeline. So there are some diagnoses and things that are already that we are already aware of. And we know that over the next year, we're going to have to spend money on those. So they take all of that information into consideration. And then on top of that, they say, okay, you have this much coming in, or this is how we calculate how much should come into that fund. That's where we got to this 1%. And this is how much you were starting with. So they say, you have this much, we think you're going to spend this much, you need to bring in this much. And then still always maintaining a balance in there just in case there's catastrophe. So that brings me to, I'm going to skip down 2 lines to the medical mutual stop loss insurance. So we have stop loss insurance. So we are self-insured, which means we pay our own claims. We purchase stop loss insurance, which is a fully insured item that is, there's a limit on individuals, and then there's a limit on the overall plan. So if disaster strikes, and there's, I don't even know offhand what the amount is, I think it's in the attachment. They would cover over and above that amount. So we know what our max spend is overall. But then there's the amount per employee or per life. So if every single life that we cover went right up to just under that individual spend, then it would hit up to the max overall. So, but it could still be, and it's a very large number. So it could be big. So they want to make sure that whatever we're bringing in, we're never going to get to that point where we would have to pull it from the general fund. So very long answer to say we're required to keep an amount. It's not enough to not take on huge risk. So we mitigate the risk by keeping the balance healthy and by purchasing the stop loss. I'm very long-winded tonight. Sorry. Okay, so moving back, so on that stop loss, that 3rd line there, that's an 8.9% increase. That looks a little bit more normal of an increase. It's not that's not an appropriate sentence, but you knew what I meant. That's the type of increase that somebody who's fully insured is probably looking at. That's even with our activity over the last year, we've been pretty lucky. Our claims have not been huge. Even with that, if we were fully insured, that's probably about where we would be. We'd probably be looking at something, an increase like that. And then I skipped over the administration costs. So Medical Mutual, we do pay our own claims, but it's through Medical Mutual, and they manage all of that for us. And they're the professionals. They invoice us once a week. We make that payment for those claims, and we pay them for that service. So there's a 2.5% increase on that. Our Delta Dental, we have a 0% increase as well. And then that is locked in for next year too. So when I bring these to you next year for calendar year 25, you will see a 0 again. So we got an extra year on that. That's locked in. And then what you don't see, and I just put it as a little sentence here, just in case you were trying to compare it to last year, you won't see the Hartford Life or the Aetna Vision on here because those are locked in with 0% increase this until the end of next year. So, and that is incorrect what I wrote there. I wrote 12/31/23. I believe it's 24. Obviously 23, that's what we're looking at now. I'll correct that on the agenda. So that was locked in a previous year. So no increases there either. So overall, self-insurance has been very good to us. And I'm gonna knock on my wood.
Were you able to get any numbers on districts average increase who aren't self-insured?
Average, no.
Yeah.
No.
So just a quick Google search on my part. Health insurance is around 7% for any business out there. And in some places it's in double digits. And we've seen this in the past. Even for us, it's been in the double digits since I've been on the board. So this is outstanding, really. And
this is a
incredible
large
fiscal management.
Yeah, it's a very large portion of our expenditures as well. I know every time, I show you the pie graph of what we spend money on, it's salaries and then benefits. And it's a large portion. So when we're looking at, a few years ago, I was projecting, 8, 9, 10% a year. And over the last 3 years, we've only had, 1, 2%.
Right.
That's why you're seeing big differences in,
it's huge.
Even in the forecast, it's helping us to extend things out further.
So it's extending our levy cycle.
Certainly.
Which
Yeah, it's
is,
helping.
Again,
Definitely.
outstanding. So thank you. Good job.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, but you're not. Would you like to take the roll?
I would. Let me find you. There we are. Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
Our next meeting will be a work session on Wednesday, November 1st at 5:30 in the Sands Community Room. Lori, would you make a motion to go into executive session?
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22 for the purpose of consideration of employment and compensation of a public employee or official.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley, please take the roll.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Bendel.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Dr. Schlepper.
Yes.
We do not plan to take action coming out of executive session.